Component 1 in class question book on photosynthesis, question 2. Good plant growth requires all nutrients to be available and in sufficient quantity. 6 macronutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and sulfur. Why nitrogen and phosphorus are needed for plant growth? It's just thinking about what other compounds are made from these. So N, nitrogen in amino acids and proteins and all. So it's just coming up with a suggestion here. So nitrogen needed for amino acids, proteins, ATP, DNA, any suggestions there. Phosphorus, well, just think of something else. Phospholipid. Phospholipid. Nucleotides, things like DNA, RNA. So pretty straightforward first couple of marks there, just from the core. Give an example of a biological molecule contains sulfur. Again, well, it's the same thing. S. I'm thinking of disulfide bonds. I'm thinking about a protein. Or enzymes might be another example there. And here's the main bit of the question. We're growing, you'll have seen something similar to this in the lab. Different fertilizer treatments on grass yields. And control only nitrogen, then nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and then all of them with sulfur on the end. Use the graph. So one of these marks might be for using some numbers from the graph to describe the effect of adding different fertilizers on grass yield. There's a little bit of a trick here. There's the control, which is presumably only water without any of these chemicals dissolved in them. So our control is only water, no fertilizer. And when we add nitrogen, we get a big jump. Let's do this in green. We get a big jump from 2.9 to 5.05, something like that. Then we add phosphorus and potassium, we get a little jump, and then we add sulfur, get another little jump. So that's really the trend that we're wanting to say there. So first of all, adding nitrogen makes a big, the biggest increase, whereas adding the further chemicals only makes smaller increases. So that's a mark that you might not have got, because you need to compare the increases. So adding N makes a big increase in, yield. You could go, you could work this out, so it's 2.9, 3.9, 4.9 plus that little extra, so it's over 2. So over 2 grass tons per hectare. So that'll be 5.05, yeah. Oh, you've got numbers here, so you just take that away from that. You don't even need to read the graph. 5.04 minus 2.92. Calculator. Oh, 5.04 minus 2.92. 2.12. 2.12. Whereas adding NPK adds a further 5.28 minus 5.04, 0.24, adds a further 0.24 grass tons per hectare, and NPKS only a further 0.8 minus 0.28, 0.52. So we've got big increase and then small increases, and that's where your marks are. So noticing that you've got a big increase and then only smaller further increases. Part C. Another example of this type of question where they're asking you to, how would you kind of do this experiment or modify this experiment, and the structure of them is similar each time. So they're wanting, what's the independent variable, what would you change? What's the dependent variable, what would you measure? Give us a couple of controlled variables, and then there might be another couple of things there. So maybe and on this one it's what's a control, and there's another odd mark. But these are the four that they seem to be giving again and again. So independent variable, so in the lab, so it's got to be stuff that we could use in the lab, and it's increases in mass of the grasses. So increase in mass and in the lab. So normal lab equipment and increased mass, well, that's going to be on your balance. There is a problem with plants, that some plants are full of water and some plants are quite dry in comparison. So you need to dry them out before you weigh them, so you've got the increase in the actual mass of plant that's being produced. So independent variable, set up separate tubes with solution of soil containing the four fertilizers. So set up separate tubes with, it doesn't really matter, we say either soil or water or culture medium, doesn't matter what you say there, containing water and then the N or NPK or NPKS. The dependent variable, what are you going to record as your results? Record the dry mass of seedlings, and it's over a 4-week period, so over the 4 weeks, e.g. weekly possibly, or every day. Not every day. You're gonna have to depends how many tubes you've got. If you've got lots of tubes, you're going to destroy the plant when you weigh it. That's the problem. So, or at the end might be a sensible one if you've just got, say, 4 tubes. The mark scheme accepts either of those 2 options. Controlled variables, equal size seedlings, same number of seedlings if you're making a tray of them, same type of seedlings, so same number, type, size seedlings. Seedlings are just little plants. Massive grasses, doesn't say how you need to start, so you could do that with seeds or seedlings. And one other control variable, well, things that this is photosynthesis, so I'm going to keep the light the same for all of them. So same light intensity. Although of course you could use other things, like temperature will affect this, pH will affect this, and so on. And there's our 4 marks. We could suggest our control, which is just the medium without the fertilizer. So just the water, no fertilizer, and there's another little odd mark saying what you'd have to do with them. You need to keep them topped up with water, as they'll use this. So keep topped up with water when necessary. But the 4 marks are the same as what we've told you each time you attempt one of these: independent variable, dependent variable, control variable 1, control variable 2.